Hey, you guys. Welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. I am your host, Karen Bailey. Let me know when you're on. I would love to say hello to you guys. You guys, last week we talked about dealing with temporary situations and not making a permanent decision over a temporary problem. And we talked about how life is going to always throw something at us, but we have to be wise enough. We have to be prepared that everything that comes to us, everything that God allows us to go through, it's going to be for your good. There's always something good in every lesson. And just understand that it's not always going to be easy. God did not promise us that life was going to be easy. And so we have to understand that no matter what we go through, understand that it's temporary, and understand if God brought you through once before, He'll bring you through again. So pitch a tent, don't build a house in those temporary situations. You guys, today our topic is just breathe, sis. You know, a lot of times we spend so much time just spinning our wheels. We're trying to be everything to everybody. We don't take time to take care of ourselves. We don't take time to just stop and just breathe and just be human. And so this world that we're in, it doesn't promote, slowing down. It doesn't promote taking time to regroup. Everything is so fast paced. Everybody wants everything yesterday. Everything is supposed to be done, by the end of the day. Even with our jobs, most of us can say that they're giving us more work in the same 8 hours than they used to. And then they're expecting everything to get done. But you have to be responsible for your own self-care. You are the only one that can take care of you. So there's going to be times when you're just going to have to stop. You're going to have to take a break so you can think and then make a decision. So that's what I want to talk about today. Just breathe, sis. And no one gives us permission to breathe sometimes, but you have to give yourself permission to stop in the middle of chaos, to stop when everybody's pulling you in all these different directions. You have to be the one to stop that and say, give me some room, allow me to breathe, I need to think, so that you can make better decisions. And I know saying just breathe sounds really, really easy, but it's not. It's not. It's hard when you're used to getting things done. You're used to meeting deadlines. You're used to saying yes to this and yes to that, and everybody expects you to do everything that you've always done. It's hard to stop sometimes and take care of yourself and just breathe. And it's really hard in certain situations. When you're in the middle of a crisis, it's hard to stop and breathe. And then when you're upset or hurt or angry, it's hard to wrap your head around being able to stop and then take a beat and breathe. And when you're feeling pressure to make a decision, sometimes everybody's on you about making a decision right now. It's hard to get your breath. It's hard to get your space that you need to make a good decision. And when your emotions are on high, they override your logic and your common sense. Sometimes we can do things out of our emotions, and then we look back later and say, why in the world did I do that? Why didn't somebody stop me? Why did that have to happen like that? I should have known better. But that's because you let your emotions override your logic and your common sense. And then when you're a people pleaser, it's hard to stop and take time for yourself and catch your breath. because you're so busy trying to make sure everybody else is happy. You're trying to make sure that you're in good with everybody, that nobody's upset with you, that everybody's pleased with you, everybody's patting you on the back. Then you don't take time to just stop and breathe. And then when we're overstimulated, by constant noise, constant distraction, constant social media, constant, somebody always in our ear, somebody always on our back about something. There's no time to stop and breathe in those situations. And then lastly, it's hard to stop and breathe when you're wanting to be perfect. Some people are perfectionists. They are so hard on themselves. They feel like they have to be better than everybody. They have to have more than everybody else. They're always comparing themselves to other people. And when you live like that, you live in competition. You live in a world where you're not allowed to fail. Then you're going to have times where you just can't breathe. And you're going to find that you're going to burn out and you're going to stress yourself to the max. So let's talk about doing something different. So in the middle of a crisis, let's talk about that. A crisis is that thing that's unexpected, that you usually can't prepare for, and there's no plan for it. It just happens. And unfortunately, you guys, it's unpredictable. No matter how well you plan, no matter how well you try to keep your ducks in a row, no matter how well you try to keep your life in order, unexpected things will happen, and we have to be prepared for that. And a crisis normally shakes us to our foundation, because a lot of times we feel like we've done everything we could to prevent something, and yet it still happens. And it messes with our sense of stability. We want to feel stable, we want to feel good, we want to feel like we've got our life together. But occasionally, those crises are going to come, and it's going to shake our confidence. It's going to shake our sense of stability, because we don't know how it got to this point. We don't know how this happened in our life. And then a crisis will cause high stress. It'll disrupt your usual routine. When a crisis comes, it messes up everything. It throws everything off. And then it requires your immediate attention and decision making. And that's where you get in trouble, is with those immediate decision making issues. Because when you do things out of stress, when you do things out of being pressured and being pushed to hurry up and make a decision, that's when we make mistakes. So in this type of situation, it's very easy to become overwhelmed, to become panicked, frustrated, physically and emotionally distressed. So how do we stop from allowing those things to happen in our life? How do we stop and take a deep breath and think before we react when we're in a crisis? Well, I've got a recommendation for you. It's called the STOP method. It's an acronym. S, stop. It stands for stop. It literally means to pause what you're doing and mentally tell yourself to stop, to interrupt your racing thoughts that are going on in your head. Sometimes that's one of those things you have to go and get in front of a mirror and talk to yourself and say, stop, stop. I gotta think, I gotta breathe. I need a minute. And then then T, take a breath. Take a breath. Take slow, deliberate breaths. Inhale through your nose and out your mouth. Because when you do that, and you do that slowly and intentionally, it signals your nervous system to calm down. And that's what you need to do in a crisis. There's nothing good that's going to happen when you're panicked, when you're upset, when you're flustered. You have got to calm down so that you can think, so you can make a good decision. O stands for observe. That means you acknowledge what's happening inside of you, that I need to calm down, I need to quiet down, I need to Get away from everybody for a minute and understand your emotions and your physical sensations, they're all on a high note. And recognize that and realize that you need to get somewhere quiet. You need to get away from everybody else for a minute. And don't be judging yourself about that. That's something you need to do in order to be able to see what's really going on without people all in your ear telling you what you need to do, telling you how you need to handle the situation. You know, that happened with me a long time ago. I had a really big decision to make, and it was a very emotional decision that I had to make, and so many people were in my ear and telling me what I should do, and this what you need to do, this, that, and the other. And I literally had to get away from everybody. I had to send my children to my mother's house. I had to turn off my phone. I had to do all of that so that I could observe what's really going on without people trying to tell me what's happening in my life. I needed to understand what it was I was dealing with. Hey, Wendy, I needed to understand that. And there's no way for you to get a full picture of what you're dealing with people in and out of your face and in your ear telling you what they think you should do. So O is for observe. That means sometimes you got to get away from people so that you can take a minute and wrap your head around what has just happened in your life or what's going on in your circumstance without judgment. Don't feel bad just because you have to get away from other people. Sometimes people and their opinions are your worst enemy. Because what happens is they'll tell you what you need to do. Oh, girl, you need to do this. If I were you, I would do this, do that. And then as soon as you do it and it don't work out, where are those people? Where are those people at? It's happened to me so many times. Girl, if I were you, I'd do this, I'd do that. And those are some of the worst decisions I've ever made in my life when I listened to other people that were in my ear in a time of crisis, telling me what to do. Because all they did was create confusion. All those voices create confusion. You can't listen to people and listen to God at the same time. So sometimes you have to observe from a distance and wrap your head around what's going on and get away from all of the noise. And then P stands for proceed mindfully. That means you've had time to stop. You've had time to breathe. You've had time to observe and acknowledge what's going on and how you feel about it. And then P, now it's time to proceed with what you're going to do about it. Because now you're not acting off of heightened emotions. Now you're not acting off of all the adrenaline that comes with the situations when crises come. Your adrenaline is high and it will make you make some bad decisions. So now you're calm, you feel a little steadier, and then you can choose your next move intentionally rather than reacting out of panic. So that's why we use the stop method when you're in a crisis. Stop. Tell yourself to stop, even if you got to say it out loud and people think you crazy. Tell yourself to stop so you can turn those thoughts off for a minute. Hey, Anita, and calm yourself down. And then T, breathe. And then take a breath. I was going to say T and then breathe don't go together. But take a breath. Take a breath. That's my T. And then O, observe what's going on, make sense of it. And then P, proceed mindfully so that you can make a better decision. So that's how we incorporate our breathing and our stopping and making good decisions when there's a crisis. So let's talk about how we can do that when we're angry or when we feel upset. You know, it's real hard to make good decisions when your heart is hurt. You know, sometimes people can do things that really hurt your heart, and it makes you so angry, and it makes you want to do something you normally wouldn't do. So how are we going to handle that so that we'll have a better outcome? Because one thing about it, when you do things out of hurt and out of anger, you forfeit the opportunity of coming up with a good plan. Because when you react out of hurt or anger, you get what you get. And then you have to deal with the consequences. And one thing about it, you cannot take back what you've already done. And now you limit yourself to just doing damage control. You know, I tell people all the time, think about what you do before you do it, because sorry is not enough sometimes. Sorry is not enough. And sorry does not erase the damage that you do when you're hurt and when you're angry. So one thing I can honestly tell people, because I've experienced it for myself, you can forgive a person, but that hurt always stays there. You can calm it down. It sits down low, but that hurt is always there. They never forget what you did, and they never forget what you say, because our mind is like a sponge. And as soon as something doesn't look right, it takes us right back to those hurtful things that you did and those hurtful things that you said. And so that's why it's so important to be proactive and think about what you do, because you do damage. You do damage that goes with people for the rest of their lives. And most people can rise above it, but it's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. So you forfeit the opportunity to come up with a good plan. Now you got to do damage control because you've already done what you wanted to do. And so you've left all of this damage along the way. So now you got to figure out what you can do to try to fix some of it, because you won't get rid of it. And then when you move too quickly, you lose the privilege that you have to access the wisdom of God. You know, God is a God that He doesn't pressure you. He doesn't make you ask for wisdom, but wisdom comes from patience. So if you're moving fast, then you're not waiting to hear what He says about the matter. He moves in His own time. And so when you move quickly and move out of your hurt and out of your emotion, you forfeit the ability to get God's wisdom and be able to make a good decision that you won't have to look back and live with the regret of it all. So wisdom and faith come from you being able to slow your roll, pray about it, and hear what God has to say about the matter. And then our emotions rob us of common sense if you let them. I think about so many things I did in my past out of emotion, out of hurt, and it was even out of my character, some of the things I did just because of the pain I was feeling. And I remember thinking back, even right after I did some of the things that I did, you know, it didn't make me feel better. It didn't make me stop hurting. And see, that's the thing. Hurting other people does not stop you from hurting. That just makes you the person that creates another victim. But it does not make you feel better. It's a temporary high getting back at people. Because at the end of the day, if you have the heart of God, if you're a good person, it's going to bother you. It's going to bother you. You're going to feel guilty about it. It's not going to be as much fun as you thought. You know, when you get these people saying, girl, if I were you, I'd do this, this, and this. You know, they can talk you into doing those things, but you got to live with your conscience. You got to live with that Holy Spirit talking to you saying, you're better than that. Why did you do that? That was not of God. And then we have to stop reacting, you guys, and start responding. You know, when we're upset, when we're mad, when we're hurt, we react. And that's the area where it's an immediate automatic response, an emotional defense mechanism. And it's in your unconscious mind because you're not even thinking before you do. And then you often end up living with regret. Now, when you respond, responding is deliberate, thoughtful. It's a process you're using to reason things out so that you make the best choice, which leads to a better outcome. So we've got to stop reacting to everything and start taking the time to stop, breathe, pray, and give yourself time to respond instead of reacting to everything. And you know, one place that I'm really learning not to react is in my workplace. I see a lot of wrongdoing that goes on. I see a lot of favoritism. I even see a lot of prejudice at my job. And I have to remind myself, when I react, when I get upset, I give other people power over me. And when I respond, that means when I come back, after I've thought about it, after I've taken time to breathe, after I've prayed about it, I come back better. I come back different. I look like confidence. I look like confidence. And then when I do have to respond to something, it's with class. It's with class. And my words have power. But when you react out of being hurt or upset or getting mad, you have no power. It shows you have weakness. It shows that you're not a thinking person, that you're not a person of intellect. So we've got to do better about controlling our emotions, even when it hurts, even when it's not fair. You know, I see so many things I want to say things about at my job. But you know what? I've been praying about it. I've been staying out of the way. I don't get involved in a lot of politics that's going on at the job. And I've been watching God work things out. Hey, Kinsley, I've been watching God work some things out. And see, God doesn't need our help. He sees exactly what you're seeing. That's another part of your hurt and your emotions. You forget you're a child of God sometimes when you're angry. You forget that God is on your side when you get mad or when you're hurt. God is always going to take care of you. He's always going to deal with people who deal with you. Sometimes it's not in your timing. We want God to deal with people quickly. God works in his own time, and he has a way of doing what he needs to do. And I am learning to just get out of his way. I'm learning to worry about what I do. Focus on how I act and how I react and respond. And that's the only thing I'm responsible for. While I see that things are not fair, while I see things are very biased, I'm trusting God. And just like I see it, he sees it. And in time, he's going to take care of the situation. And I've been watching him do that little bit by little bit on my job. And we've got to learn to practice something called emotional discipline, you guys. That means taking a breath before you answer. You know, a lot of times we're so quick to want to clap back at people. Hey, baby, hold on.
My bad. Oops, my bad.
Okay.
Okay.
Where you going?
Yeah.
All right, love you.
All right, love you too.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to give you a hug, but you got your notes right.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry. Give me a break, y'all. Hold on. Let me hug my son. You finna go?
I ain't finna leave just yet.
Okay, then bye then, boy.
Well, nah, Mama, I don't know if I'm coming back out here.
Okay, give me a hug real quick. Come on, I'm on my podcast. Give me a hug.
I'm trying to give you a hug.
Okay, give me a quick hug.
All right.
All right, love you. All right.
You doing good. Keep doing
Okay,
your
love you.
All right.
Bye. Okay, I'm back, y'all. Being a mama don't never stop. But we need to practice something called emotional discipline, you guys, where we take a breath before we answer. Because an immediate response is not always the smartest thing to do. Because like I said before, you can't take back what you do, but you also can't take back what you say when you're upset and when you're hurt. So we need to learn to get some control over these bodies, some control over these tongues of ours, and understand that life and death is in the power of the tongue. And I don't want to say something to you today that's going to hurt your future later on. I don't want you remembering the hurtful things I said 10, 15 years from now. I don't want that responsibility of being the one that hurt you, of being the person that broke you, of being that person that discouraged you. So I am very careful with my words. When I was younger, I didn't say a lot of ugly stuff, but I didn't think about, even if I did, what impact it had on people and how it's just not a one-time thing. It's something that goes on for years and years and years in their mind. So we have to practice. We have to practice some emotional discipline. So take a breath before you answer that text message that triggered you. Yes, they came at you the wrong way, but guess what? Take a minute. Take a minute and recognize that you're bigger than this. You're better than that. I'm not going to do this with them. I'm not going to keep going back and forth with them. You have control over that. You have control over that. And I'm learning that sometimes silence is the best response. Sometimes when people are acting a fool with me, I just get quiet. People send me a wrong kind of text message all up in their feelings. I won't respond back. When you want to act like an adult, then we can finish this conversation. When you want to act with some respect, then we can finish this conversation. See, we're the ones that allow people to treat us any and every kind of way. And it's taken me to this point in my life to understand that I actually have control over that. Because I can be absent and let you argue with yourself. I can remove myself from the room and leave you sitting there looking foolish if I choose to. So you have to have emotional discipline to understand you don't have to win every argument. Sometimes you win just by leaving and removing yourself. That's a win, because when you do that, you don't give them your energy, you don't give them your time, and you don't give them your peace. And it takes spiritual maturity to do that, y'all. To walk away when people are wrong and you know they're wrong. Some people are just not worth it. And you've got to decide what's more important, being right or having your peace. And I choose peace. I choose peace every time. And I thank God every day for allowing me to understand how amazing it is to be able to go to sleep at night without thinking about what I did or what somebody said and all of that stuff and running that stuff through my mind. I like peace. I like quiet. I like chill. I like that. So I'm very protective of it now. And then remember, don't respond to every email. You know, when people send you an email and it upsets you, that's when it's time to turn off your computer. It's time for you to go and do something that you enjoy. It's time for you to have a good night's sleep, but never respond to an email out of anger. Because not only do you make a fool of yourself, you also leave a paper trail. And especially when you're dealing with jobs and things like that, you leave a paper trail. There's documentation of what you said. Or if you're emailing back to an acquaintance or whatever, you've just given them something to show to everybody so that they can prove their point that you're hard to deal with. And a lot of times people want to prove that you're hard to deal with, that it's not them, it's you. And we give people the ammunition to do just that sometimes. So remember, we got to get control and some discipline over this hurt and this anger. And so let's move on. How do you stop, breathe, and think before you react when you're feeling pressured to make a decision? Or you're a people pleaser? You owe it to yourself to give yourself time to make an informed decision. Stop allowing people to rush you. A lady asked me to do something one time, and I wasn't sure if I could do it. She was like, well, I need to know something by 5 o'clock. And I'm like, well, okay, you know what? Go ahead and see if you can get somebody else to do it. I said, I need more time than that. I need to look at my schedule. I need to make sure I can move some things around, this, that, and the other. I would rather miss an opportunity than allow you to push me into something that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And a lot of times people, when they need you to fill a space or they need you to do something that's going to benefit them, that's when they want you to hurry up and make a decision. But you owe it to yourself to give yourself time to make an informed decision without being rushed. But you have to set those boundaries. Now I tell people, if they ask me to do something, I said, you know what, give me a couple of days and I'll get back with you. If they can't do that, then I need you to move on to somebody else. Because I respect the fact that when I make a decision, I have to stand behind my decision. And I don't want to make a rushed decision because I want any decision that I make to reflect the woman that I am today. So I'm not going to let you rush me into something that's going to make me look bad, to have people looking down on me, to make me lose respect with other people. And then remind yourself that you're going to be the one living with the consequences of whatever decision that you make. So if things go sideways, like I said before, guess what? That person that was pressuring you, they're going to disappear. You ain't going to be able to find, they're going to ghost you. They won't even respond to your messages. So you have to understand, when you make a decision, you are the one that's going to have to deal with the consequences. Hey, Keisha. So let's talk about what we do when people are trying to pressure us into making a decision, or when we're caught up trying to please everybody and not taking time to do what we need to do to make good decisions. This is what we're going to do. Number one, we're going to emphasize the importance of having the time that you need to make better decisions. Like I said before, you ask me to do something, I'm not going to give you an answer right now. I'm going to be like, you know what? Let me get back with you tomorrow. Let me get back with you this weekend. Because I can't stand for people to do that last minute thing with me. I don't know if it's because I've gotten older or I see it as a sign of disrespect. You know, I've had people invite me to things at the last minute, like it's going on tomorrow, but you invited me today. Oh, boo, I'm not coming. Because I was an afterthought. You had no consideration for what plans I might have had, and then you looking sad when I say I can't come. No. You consider me when you're planning, when you're inviting everybody else. So you got to learn to stand up for yourself, because some of that stuff is low-key disrespect. They need you for something. And you got to stop allowing people to use you like that. So you are the one that's going to have to emphasize the importance of having the time that you need so you can make the best decision. You know, I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of making bad decisions. I'm tired of looking back and saying, why did I do that? I wish I never did that. I wish I never said yes to that. I don't want my life to be a series of regrets. As I'm getting older, I should be making better decisions. That's just the way I see it. And that also means that you're going to give me time so I can make sure what you're asking me to do is a good fit for me. Because just because people invite you to stuff, just because people ask you to do stuff, does not mean that that's what's meant for you. That means they need you for something, but it may not be a good fit for you. That may not be where God wants you to be and what God wants you to be doing. So that's why you need time to think for yourself. And number two, be willing to let go and walk away when there's not respect. When people are like, you know what? I don't even know why I asked you. It don't take that long to make a decision. What's the problem? Baby, you got to go. My answer just turned into a no. Because you're disrespecting me because I'm not answering or giving you the answer that you want in your time. You got to be willing to let go and walk away from whatever opportunity is if you see that you're being disrespected. You got to be able to do that. And number three, set boundaries and know your limitations. Quit saying yes to everything, y'all. One thing I'm learning is when I say yes to something, I'm sacrificing something else. So that yes better be that important, because saying yes means you're saying no to other things. And then don't take on too many projects. This is number 4. That leads you to being ineffective. One thing about me, I'm about my reputation. If I do something, I'm not going to half step. I want to do it right because it's got my name on it. I want to do it right because at the end of the day, when I step back and look at something, I want to feel good about it. I want to know that I gave it my all. And I used to be one of those with too many irons in the fire. And then I'm wondering why I'm exhausted. Nothing really is getting done. I feel confused. I'm tired. I'm cranky. All of that. That was my fault. Now I've learned to take no more than 2 projects at a time. And I don't do them simultaneously. Whichever one requires more energy, that's going to get taken care of first. And then once I'm done with that and I'm satisfied, I'll move to that other thing. And when I'm done with that, now we can add some more to the plate. And one thing that's really helped me keep from putting too many irons in the fire is to make a list of what I'm going to do. And I give myself timelines of which things I'm going to do and how much time I'm going to give myself to do them. Because that gives me a chance to step my game up without the pressure of everybody else saying, why isn't that done yet? I thought you were going to have this done by such and such and such and such. You don't have to live like that. You don't have to live like that. There's a way to be organized and get done everything you need to get done. But you got to want to do it with excellence. I'm not half-stepping. You know, they're always saying black people half do, and it's always ghetto when black people do stuff. I don't want that on me. I don't want that on me. So when I do something, I want them to say, wow, she did that. That's important to me. I need that in my life. I'm not going to half-step. I'm not going to half-do because I've gotten myself too caught up on too many things. So that's what we're going to do when it comes to feeling overwhelmed and being a people pleaser. We're going to step back and we're going to get ourselves together and we're going to make people respect our boundaries so that we got time to stop, think, and breathe. So next, how do we stop and breathe and think when we're a perfectionist? We think if we don't get it right, you know, it's going to be a problem that you fail if it's not perfect, if you don't look perfect, if you don't act perfect, if you don't have what everybody else has, even though it's stretching you to your limit, even though it's stretching you financially, trying to compete with other people and have with other people because you don't want to feel like you're not where they are, you're going to wear yourself out. And you have to understand, with comparing yourself and thinking you have to be perfect and get everything right all the time, both of those things are going to stress you out and rob you of your happiness and your peace. And number 2, when you begin to start measuring yourself by other people's life achievements, you're destined to fail. You're going to fail because God made us individually. God did not make me to be like you and for you to be like me. So you are setting yourself up for failure. And just understand that God doesn't make mistakes. He knew what you needed specifically in your life. And it's not always what everybody else has. And we have to remember, you guys, to be kind and be compassionate towards ourselves. Just like we're nice to everybody else, quit picking on yourself. When people compliment you, quit immediately saying, well, girl, I need to lose some weight. These big old hips, this big old stomach. Well, just say thank you. Be kind to yourself. And understand you don't have to look like her. You don't have to be built like her to be all right, to be good. That's not what God wanted us all to look alike and feel like we have to be somebody else in order to be happy. Number 3, challenge any unrealistic expectation or standards. When you know you're not built structurally to be a size 5, quit trying to eat yourself down, exercise yourself down, wear yourself down with diets and all of that, trying to be a size that is not meant for your body type. Love yourself for the skin that you're already in. You know, you're wasting years beating yourself up because you don't look a certain way. You got this idea of what size you want to be. And that may not be your size. You were there once, but that may not be the size you're supposed to be now. And then all this time you're beating yourself up about it. You're getting older and older and older. And guess what? It gets harder to lose that weight when you get older. So you've wasted 10, 15 years hating yourself, years that you could have been enjoying your life. We have got to get out of that trap of looking at everybody else and wanting to be like what's on social media. You better learn to be happy where you are right now, because you don't know how many days you have left. You don't know if you're going to get to the end of the year. None of us know that. But don't waste your years and your time and your happiness on stuff that really doesn't matter. And then practice mindfulness. And when I say that, number 4, to practice that, learn how to be grateful. Wake up saying thank you. No, we don't have everything we want, but I dare say we all have everything we need. So learn how to be grateful for who you are, for all the things that God has brought you through, for what little that you do have, because somebody doesn't have what you have. And you're complaining and looking at somebody else wanting more. Learn to be grateful for what you already have. Number 5, focus on your own personal progress and make that a priority. That'll keep you from looking at other people. As they say, sweep around your own front door before you try to sweep around somebody else's. Deal with your own yard instead of looking over the fence at somebody else's yard. If you take care of you and yours, you won't have time to be comparing yourself to anybody else, because that's a waste. That's a waste of life, comparing yourself. And number 7, this one's more important than anything. Learn how to laugh at yourself. You know, everything you try to do, you're not going to be successful. And a person that has to be perfect at everything, they're not satisfied with just being good. It has to be perfect. You're living a miserable life. Learn how to laugh at yourself, at your failures, and find a reason to enjoy your life, because life is too precious to waste it feeling upset, feeling like you're not enough, feeling like you don't compete with everybody else. The only person you should be competing with is the person that you were yesterday. That's all that matters, that you become a better person over time. Looking like somebody else is not going to make you happy. Having what somebody else has is not going to make you happy. Those are temporary pleasures. And you guys, my final thought, we can't always be prepared or control what life throws at us. The only thing we can control, you guys, is how we react to the situation. And your situation may seem impossible when you look at it. But remember about the God that you serve. God specializes in things that look impossible or seem impossible to us. Is there anything too hard for God? Of course it's not. Of course it's not. So sis, before you make your next move, I beg you to stop, think, breathe, and then react. It's all right. Just breathe, sis. You got this. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have an amazing Good Friday and an amazing Easter. And let's not forget about all that God has done. And let's not forget to reverence God at this time of year. You know, I know so much is going on, but we have to remember whose hands we're in. And we have to remember that God is in control, even when it seems like this world is out of control. So let's not let all the distractions take us away from enjoying the privilege it is in being a child of God, and being able to remember the sacrifice that Jesus made for us so that all of us could have eternal life, so that we would have a relationship with God, so that we would be able to talk to God and not have to go through a priest or a pastor or anybody else. We can go directly to God ourselves. So I just want us to have an amazing weekend, and just remember that you're covered and that God loves you and that you got this. You got this. So take your time. Don't allow life to rush you, because you can't get those years back. So when you need to, take your time and just stop. Stop and breathe and think and then react. Thank you, guys. I love y'all. Happy Easter, and God bless everybody. Stay safe. Bye.